My dad, his name, at the time, he was going by the name of Cardamom.
Why is that?
And
Tell
when
the
he
story.
married my mother, he decided, the heck with it. He had a father, he's going to use his father's name, which was Sagada.
So tell the story of your dad's parents. How was
There
your
was
dad?
a young couple that she was pregnant and she was sick quite a bit. So she sent for, and her father-in-law lived with them. So she sent for her younger sister to help her because she was so sick. Now I don't know her name or nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And this young girl had an affair with her father-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where John came from.
And do you know what part of Italy?
It was, I got it upstairs, I don't have it.
Don't remember the name. What part
No,
of Italy?
it's on the marriage license.
Okay. Okay. So did he? Then did he have any brothers and sisters?
No.
He didn't.
Mm-mm.
Okay. And then,
So this Prima Weda,
mm-hmm.
her mother,
Mm-hmm.
took my dad and raised him like Prima Weda was his sister. Actually, they were cousins.
So your dad's real mom or his real dad, neither one of them raised him?
No.
Who was Prima Wade's mom then?
That I don't know.
You don't know. But somehow he was sort of adopted by this woman,
Mhm.
and she had a daughter,
Mm-hmm.
Prima Wade.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any idea when your dad came to America?
The only thing I remember is Mom saying he came over when he was a young man. He wasn't married.
Mm-hmm.
And he came with Uncle Joe and Uncle Tony.
Mm.
And I think there were three young guys came from this same little village and decided to come over to make a home for themselves.
Who is Uncle Joe and Uncle Tony? Where did they...
Uncle Joe was Auntie Denina's husband.
Oh, so he was a friend...
Of my dad's.
But Auntie Denise is from your mom's side of the family.
Yeah, well, let me finish the story right there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, my mother married my dad. She had three young sisters. So she sent for them. And she had these three guys that was working for my dad, or they were all on the railroad. And they each married my mom's sisters, Tony and Auntie Amelia and Auntie Denine.
Oh, okay. So they came over to the States through your dad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's the story of how your dad came to be. So your mom married your dad, and she already had John Milletta, and he was 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was Flora, Concetta, Joe, Nick, Helen, and Mike. Do you remember how...
Mike is the same age as John. They were just 2 weeks apart.
And he was the youngest of your dad's kids, Mike.
Yeah.
And they were only 2 weeks apart.
Mm-hmm.
So that means Mike was the youngest. He was around 4 years old, too.
Yeah.
And then, do you remember how much older your brother Nick would have been than Mike? And Auntie Helen, Nick, Uncle Joe?
Concetta and was... I really don't know. Concetta, I know Concetta was sick. Joe, my brother Joe lived with us.
How much older than, how much older than you? Like, how old were these kids? Can you remember when you were born in 1923?
Mm-hmm.
How old they might have been when you were born?
Joe was 14.
Joe was 14?
Mm-hmm. So the other two must have been older.
And
Concetta and Flora.
And how old do you think Uncle Nick was then, if Joe was 14?
He was, I think, between John and Nick.
And how about your brother Mike? How old do you think he was when you were born?
The same age as my brother John. They were just 2 weeks apart.
So if Uncle John was born in 1916...
So was Mike.
They were both born at the same time, so that means they were like 17 when you were... No. How old would they have been?
What?
Well, if you... 1916 to 1923, they would have been 7 years old then, when you were born. Does that seem right? That Uncle John was about 7 years older than you? Your brother John?
He was 8 years older.
Okay, that makes sense then. So Mike was the same age. So they were about 8 years old when you were born. Okay, so then you were born in 1923. And who lived at home when you were born? When you were growing up, who do you remember living at home with you? Uncle Joe, Uncle Nick? Auntie Helen wasn't there.
No, it was just Joe and John.
Just Nick, Mike wasn't there?
No.
Where did Mike go?
They all went to Chicago.
Ah. And some of them took the name Cardamone?
Yeah.
Now, your real dad's last name was Zagata, and his mom's name was Cardamone?
His mother's maiden name
Was Cardamone. So that's why some of the kids took that name. So were they ever married then? Your dad's dad and mom? They never got married?
What do you mean? Yeah, they got married. My mother and dad did, yeah.
No, your dad's parents. So remember the father-in-law, the sister came?
Yeah.
And she got pregnant. Did they get married?
No.
Okay, so that's why some of the kids took Cardamone and some took Zagata. Because they
all of them took Zagata. The 5 that were.
Okay. Okay. All right, so I just wanted to get clear on that because I think that's
he took the name Zagata when he married my mother.
But before that, he was using his mom's name, Cardamone.
Cardamone.
Okay. Okay, so then you're born in 1923. 3 of the kids are still at home. And then who was born after you?
Mary.
How much, do you remember what year?
15 months apart.
So she was born maybe in 1925? December 24?
1924.
Was her, no, when was her birthday? June?
June 1st. June 6th, what's the matter with me?
That's okay.